I think offensive line play is kind of a vicious control. You've got to be smart. You've got to remember the snap count. You can't jump off sides. And if you get too overly aggressive, and you're going to get a penalty. Or if you get too overly aggressive, you're going to forget your basic techniques. Offensive line is a control violence.
For me individually, I know coming up to the line of scrimmage, the very first play of the game, that's going to set the tempo. Because early in my career, one of my coaches told me, after you go to a Pro Bowl, after you go to a Super Bowl, the guy across from you wants to have the game of his career. So what I try to do is, after studying this guy all week and film in the classroom, I want to come out the first play and make eye contact with this guy. I want to look him right in the eye, because I know he's going to give 100% and I'm going to give 100%. Then it's the start of the battle. And I think that first play sets the tempo for the game.
Point production has always been a football coach's nightmare, and it has sent far too many coaches scurrying to clinics, blackboards, and coaching manuals in search of formations and gimmicks. Few realize it's an exercise in futility without first addressing the issue of their offensive line. Without an excellent offensive line, there can be no running or passing attack. The problem has always been how to build and train an offensive lineman. It is a neglected art that needed to be addressed. Some thought the problem could be resolved in the weight room, and that strength was the answer. Others believed blocking schemes would solve the problem. Was there anyone who had a common sense approach to offensive line play that is just as applicable to a Pop Warner player as it is to an NFL lineman? The man with the answer is Jim McNally, the offensive line coach of the Cincinnati Bengals for the past 12 years, and the unquestioned guru of offensive line theory. He has distilled 25 years of offensive line coaching experience into 3 tapes for your benefit. His theories are revolutionary, but you'll agree after viewing each of the tapes that his approach is simple and straightforward. What better man to demonstrate Coach McNally's theories than Anthony Munoz, 11-time All-Pro offensive tackle of the Cincinnati Bengals, 4 times picked as the NFL Offensive Lineman of the Year, and to many observers, possibly the greatest offensive tackle in NFL history. Actions speak louder than words, and number 78 shows us why he is a defensive lineman's worst nightmare. Cincinnati's successful air and ground attack can be directly related to the blocking techniques you're watching now. Munoz is known as the pancake champion of the NFL because of his ability to flatten opposing defenders. Coach McNally likes to refer to them as decleaters, but whatever the name, scores of NFL opponents have ended up on their backs and wondering what happened. So sit back and enjoy as Jim and Anthony build an offensive lineman from the ground up and change your views on offensive line play forever.
enjoyed doing these tapes for you guys, and I hope that you can get something out of them. And Anthony Munoz here, in my opinion, is the greatest offensive lineman to play. He's been to 10 Pro Bowls, and I think he's got a few more in him, and someday I believe he'll be in the Hall of Fame in Canton, Ohio, and hopefully I'll be there to present it to him.
It's nice to have that compliment, but for me, it's always been a motivator. For me during the off season, and then at practice and every game, I want to, I'm not going to cruise. I'm going to work hard every day, and I still see a lot of room for improvement. So that motivates me. I mean, they're nice to have people say that about you, but that drives me to work that much harder. Do a lot of running. I've always been one as long as I've been in Cincinnati. I try to run every day in the off season. Mainly right after the season till about late April, early May, I run distance every day. And once mini camp rolls around, usually late April, early May, then I start and I incorporate interval training with my distance. And, play a little basketball, a little softball, but then I like to get out and relax and get frustrated with golf. So I know for myself personally, it's been great for me being able to play in the NFL, but I think most of all is the way I've been taught in the NFL. I've had Jim for the same coach the last 11 years, hopefully several more, and I have to say that I've learned from the best. So hopefully you can take a lot of the stuff that Jim has talked about in the classroom and that we've demonstrated out here on the field, and it can help you no matter what level you're on.
Hi, this is Jim McNally, and we'd like to give you some insight to offensive line play. Anthony Munoz and I will be working together. The first thing that I'd like to cover is a basic offensive lineman's stance that we use. And first of all, let me say this. In our offensive line stance, we would like to get into a good stance where we can go forward, where we can go backward, where we can go right and left, and where we can pass protect. We have to pull, we have to drive block, we have to reach block. So we have to get ourselves in a stance where we can do all those things. The first thing that we do is the linemen on the right side use a right-handed stance. So just to give you an idea of how that would look, if this is our center right here, that the right guard and the right tackle, I'm drawing their feet, of course, and that's their head. They'll have their right foot back. So this is the right guard. This is the right tackle. He's got a slight stagger with his right foot. Over on the left side, this is the left guard. He's going to have his left foot back slightly, and the left tackle would have his left foot back slightly. Okay, so what we're saying is that the right guard and the right tackle have a right-handed stance, and the left guard and the left tackle have a left-handed stance, meaning that the left hand is down on the left side and the right hand is down on the right side. We need to start from that premise, and the reason we do that is we feel that most of our blocking adjustments are better made when our outside foot is back. Okay, and when our outside foot is back, the high percentage of times we have to block a man on our outside shoulder or a man that's a little wider on run or pass blocking, it's easier done with the outside foot back. Now there are times, let's go to the right guard now, that he may have to block a man to his inside. Okay, so for that reason we don't let him drop the right foot back very far, and he will have to make an adjustment. So that's basically the premise we use as far as which hand is down, which foot is back. Particularly in pro football because of the pass protection in the wide men to our outside. Okay, let's start with the basic posture of a stance. When we come up to the line of scrimmage, other than the center, and if I were to be the right guard, all right, the man in this position right here, the right guard, this of course being the center, as I'd come up to the line of scrimmage, okay, I would place my elbows on my knees just like this, and I look around at the defense and the quarterback starting to make some calls and some of those things. But let's basically get into the stance, the feet, rather than all the other preliminaries of listening to the quarterback and pre-shifting and some of those things. So we're talking about the stance. All right, now what we'd like to do is that if my blocking assignment is to be made over here to the right, and I'm the right guard or the right tackle, I said we put our right hand down. We really stress the alignment of this foot here, this right foot. So if I'm going to put the right foot down, okay, and the right hand down, I really don't want this right toe and right knee to turn way in like this, like occasionally I've seen people, teach in their stance. We'd like to open that foot up just a little bit because our blocking assignment might be made to the outside over here. So when we get down in the stance, as you're looking at me from behind, our feet might not, our toes might not go in and our heels out and some of those things. You may see some of our toes and our heels almost ducked where it looks kind of awkward from behind because we want to get the feet going in the proper direction. Okay, let's talk now. Basically, I've come up to the line of scrimmage. I've dropped my elbows to my knees. My head is up. I'm looking around at the defense. Let's talk about what we do with the hand. If I get into a right-handed stance, what I'd like to do, and I'll get down on one knee, I'd like to get up on the tripods of my fingers, all right? So as you're looking at my hand, all my fingers, including the thumb, are touching the ground. So there's a pretty good look at what the fingers look like on the ground, all right? Now, you don't want to put a lot of weight on the hands like that because then you can only go forward. You don't want to put such weight on the fingers that they think that all it is a pass. So that's kind of a comfortable, you put a little weight on your fingertips and you can pick your hand right up off the ground, which I'll show you in a minute. So what I'm saying is now the bend of the elbow as you're coming into your stance, you wouldn't want to have the elbow and the hand and the arm like that. You wouldn't want to have the hand way out here. So if this is the framework of my body, of course it's easier for me to demonstrate like this so I don't have to stay in this stance all day, right? This is a pun on us here, right? What I'm saying is that as I'm down into my stance, and these are my shoulders, that hand would look right about like that. There would be a slight bend in that elbow, and as you're trying to correct the kid's stance from behind, you may say, maybe his hand's out here. Well, move the hand in a little bit. Or maybe his hand's here, and you say, move your right hand over. It's kind of a comfortable feeling, and I would say that right hand, if you're a right-handed stance, is just slightly outside of your right eye, and it's slightly right underneath it. It's not way out in front of it. It's not way underneath it. So that's basically how the hand looks, all right? That's how the finger tilt looks and so forth. All right, now let's go from what we tell them in the stance is, we're still talking about the hand and the arm. We tell them to put the hand down, okay, and it's slightly outside the right eye, and we tell them to reach a little bit with the hand so the defense doesn't think we're going to pass all the time. The easiest way to pass block is to put your hand right here and just push off. So if we creep that hand out a little bit in front of us, the defenders have a feeling that we still might run block. So we put the hand, we don't try to give them a dead key because we put the hand underneath us. All right, now, as far as in the stance, what we'd like to have them do, when they put the hand down, we'd like them to find that balance in their hands and arms and butts and ankles where they can pick that hand right up off the ground. See that hand? Now, as you're looking at me, if it looks like my butt's down too far, I may say, put your butt up a little bit, but just pick your hand right up off the ground. Therefore, we don't put too much weight on the hand, or we don't put too much weight backward. But if you can pick the hand right up off the ground, you can go right, you can go left, and so forth. Okay, so the hand is slightly outside the right eye if I'm in a right-handed stance. We try to reach out a little bit further than normal and still be able to pick the hand up. Now, here's how you adjust a guy to get the feeling to pick the hand up. If a kid's got too much weight forward like this, you tell him to pull the weight back in his butt, you actually get behind him and pull his butt back, and you'll actually see his butt that has too much weight here, you'll see the butt kind of pull back. So he's really putting the legs in his, he's putting the weight in his butt, in his calves, in his ankles, rather than on the hand. So you can actually pull the butt back, make the offensive lineman understand that he's got too much weight forward, and adjust the weight in his rear end, and that'll take a little more weight off the hand. Now, from there, what we like to tell them is, as you're looking from behind at my feet, all right, that this is too much of a stagger. I mean, the right foot's back too far. I'm in a right-handed stance because I can't go to my left as well, all right? So I would say your stagger at the most should be about toe instep. So as you're looking at my feet, I'm trying to give you a toe to instep stagger. That seems to be the most comfortable. All right, parallel stance is a good stance to go either direction, okay? But it's not as good to operate on a man to your outside. If I'm the right tackle or the right guard, and I've got to block a man out there, it feels more comfortable and more natural to have more of a stagger with my feet. So then what I was saying is, if you're in a critical situation where you need a deeper stagger to execute your assignment, then go ahead and take it. But we're talking about the basic stance that we like to get into a toe instep position. Remember, elbows are on the knees. We talked about how to put the hand down. Now here's a major point that I didn't cover earlier is a lot of times your kids will get in a stance like this and their shoulders will be really turned and tilted. What we try to do to square the shoulders and make a nice pretty stance is to take this left elbow and put it outside the left knee and just kind of let this hand dangle here. And you see how this squares my shoulders? So taking this left elbow, putting it outside this left knee, and just relaxing it has a tendency to square these shoulders. Sometimes a stance like this or like this gets the shoulders all cockeyed, so you'd like a nice squared stance. Put the left elbow, okay, outside the left knee, and that helps in that area. Okay, so we've talked about a toe instep stagger, right-handed stance on the right side, how to square the shoulders, how the hands are down in a tripod fashion. Now let's talk about what we think the feet should look like. If I've got to execute an assignment over here to my right, if I'm this right tackle over here, okay, and I've got to block a man over here to my outside, I'm not concerned that this right foot is turned a little bit to the outside, okay? So there's a little bit of a tilt or a turn or an angle to the outside, okay? So with the outside leg, if I'm the right tackle and I'm moving that way, we don't stress that that foot is toed in to get that nice pretty pigeon-toed stance. We'd rather have him open up a little bit because that's pretty much the angle we're going to block it. Now this other foot, we're not that concerned that we don't want this other foot to turn way out, but again, if this foot here has to be turned anyway, it can be turned slightly in. What I'm saying is, idealistically, if you were going to go to your right, the stance you'd get in would be like this. Of course, you can't do that. So what my point I'm saying is that the outside leg or the leg towards the play can be slightly turned a little bit to make your assignment a little bit easier. These are some of the things we let them do. Again, we don't want to have too much weight forward. We don't want to have too much weight backwards. Another very important thing in the stance is, we call it the butt shift, is if I've got to execute an assignment over here to my right, okay, and I want to step with this foot, okay, and I want to have a little more weight on this foot here, when we get down in the stance, we actually tell them to shift the weight over their inside leg. So watch my butt slightly move. You see that right there, all right? Therefore, I've got a little more heavier weight over this side here. Now, most of the guys go like this. We say, no, don't shift your whole body. Just tilt your butt and put a little more weight over your inside knee and on the inside of your foot over here. And that'll put a little more weight here. So if I've got a pass block or I have to drop this foot, it's easier done. If I'm going to my inside now, to my left, they might cock their butt a little bit like this, right? That puts a little more weight over here, okay? So this foot, I can move it a little easier. That's a very important point as far as weight distribution in your stance by shifting the butt slightly to put weight over the leg that you're going to push off with. One point that I missed on the stance, of course, when we get down in our stance and get to our three-point stance, the vision that we like to use is we tell our guys that we basically look right through our eyebrows, so we don't pull our head way up there like we used to teach in the old days, because that puts our butt down. What we like to do is just put the head up slightly, just kind of comfortable, and the eyes scan. They rotate around in a 360-degree circle type, and they just kind of scan what they're seeing, and they can actually see a linebacker standing up 3 or 4 yards deep, and it appears that their head is down. So we make a big point about scanning with the eyes, rotate them 360 degrees, of course, to see what you're going to block. Basically, when we come up to the line of scrimmage, of course, our head's kind of on a swivel. We basically start from the left to the right, and we look both directions just like a quarterback would do. We go a number of times from an up stance, being a 2-point stance. And that's why we like to pre-shift, which means when we get up to the line of scrimmage, our elbows are on our knees. Some of our guys actually put their hands on their knees, which I'm not as concerned about, but whether they put their hands or their elbows on their knees is that we can snap the ball from an up position and go immediately. Where that helps you is on your pass protection, because if you want to get real close to the line of scrimmage without being offsides, you can get closer to the football in a 2-point stance, because your chest angle is like this. When the ball is snapped, you can set up and pass block. Okay, so if you put your hand down, you'd be offsides. So there is some merit using a 2-point stance on pass protection if you want to get real close to your defender so you can get on them immediately. When we teach the center stance, and he comes up to the line of scrimmage, we like the center to stretch the ball out as far as he can and still be able to pick that ball right up off the ground. Of course, the center puts his thumb on about the second lace, puts it slightly on edge, and we know if the center's got too much weight forward if he can't pick the ball right up. So we like the center to pick the ball right up. Again, his feet are basically parallel, so we can go right or left. And when you look at our centers from behind, both of their feet may be slightly toed out a little bit, all right? At the most, one of them may be parallel and the other toed out, slightly toed, but at no means should they be toed in, because it's easier to make our blocking corrections with our toes going this way, because most of our steps are drop steps or pass steps where we want to get on our insteps and have a lot of power. His other hand is basically just about like this, just like we have the other lineman to keep the shoulder square. Relaxed, because the center in particular on pass protection, he's got to get his left hand up right now. The way we like to snap the ball to the quarterback is that the center puts his thumb on about the second lace and he rotates the ball slightly to his inside. Now he can put 1 or 2 hands on the ball. When he puts 2 hands on the ball, this left hand is just a guide hand. It's just to square his shoulders because he feels a little stronger. So we really can almost take that hand off. But I prefer the centers to put 1 hand, the ball underneath, right underneath their nose, all right, and the other hand here, keeping the shoulders square. And when we snap the ball back to the quarterback, it's kind of a natural, as that ball comes up, it comes up just about like that. All right, now the problem, of course, is when the center snaps and he moves one way or another, the quarterback's got to ride him. He's got to follow the center. Now, most of our steps are drop steps, which means if our center goes to his right, as he snaps the ball, he's going to drop that foot. All right, so that's pretty much what our center looks like going to his right. Going to his left, it would look like that. Now, other ways you can snap the ball to the quarterback where there are very few fumble exchanges, and these are good tools for a center at the little league level in high school level, and I know some colleges do it, you actually put the ball up on edge, up on end, okay? You know, what you can do is, watch my hands, just like I'm grabbing it like to throw it as a quarterback. I can put both hands like that, okay? And the ball is snapped back and it's turned like this. So if you're the quarterback, boom. And there are very few fumble exchanges, all right? Now the other way like this, you can put the hands like this and like this. The ball is snapped back in that manner. The ball comes back like that right in the quarterback's hands. It comes back strong. And there's very few fumbles. Our snap, basically, the quarterback gets it in that quarter turn area in that fashion. Our basic takeoff on 99% of our plays is a drop step. And how that would look coming out of your stance, let's say I'm the center, okay? I've got the ball underneath me, and I'm going to go to my right. 90% of my blocks, pass or run, when I snap the ball, that foot drops. All right, whether it drops a little bit, a little deeper, and you'll notice I'm almost on my insteps. It's almost like a clown's foot, whatever, all right? Now on pass protection, let's see if I'm going to my left. Okay, that's how the foot basically moves, all right? Let's say I'm the left guard in my stance, and I want to move to my left, all right? I'm in a left-handed stance. I usually pick that foot up and put it down, drop it a little bit. So going from the stance, if I'm going to my right, I pick it up and put it down. That's kind of a lead-in where mentally you can see how the stance, okay, I'm in my stance, over here, left-handed stance, left guard. I like to drop this foot when I go to my right. Well, if I got this foot toed way in like this, it's hard for me to drop it. So if I cheat a little bit, okay, and I don't look perfect in my stance, my takeoff angle is aided by one or both of those feet being slightly ducked out. Again, the point I'm trying to make, most of our takeoffs, pass or run, are made with a slight drop step of the foot, okay, up and down, basically on our insteps, then a forward step. We take very few forward steps. Everything is to lose a little ground to get on the proper angle.
Well, the main reason I like the drop step in our blocking scheme is, first of all, it times the block up between the running back who's at a certain distance behind the line of scrimmage and myself who has to make the block. Therefore, it gives us a little better timing. Secondly, when I take the drop step, it gets me my center of gravity down, and it helps me sight my target, which is the defensive lineman. You know, if I get into the block too quick, then he gives him time to readjust and make the tackle, where I take the drop step, therefore it times it up and I can cover my man, which are the terms we use. I cover my man, and as the back receives the ball and starts up to the line of scrimmage, then I can proceed and go into my block and then cover him up and then continue to block him. So now I'll demonstrate exactly why we use the drop step on our blocking scheme here. First of all, I'm looking at where the defensive lineman is aligned, and also as I'm doing this, I have to determine where I want to be as far as the ball is concerned. Do I want to be on the ball, off the ball, or halfway in between, off and on? And usually with the drop step, I like to use a semi. It's usually not up on the ball and not back off the ball, but a semi helps me time it up a lot better. Therefore, I sight my target, which is the defensive end. I get in my stance, and as the quarterback calls the cadence, and then it's time for us to go, I take this step, and I don't want to stand straight up, but as I take the step, I want to stay down and have my body motion going forward in order to get to the lineman.
What we'd like to cover now is the basic alignments that you can use when you come up to the football, as far as how close or how far away from the football you'd like to be. Of course, the center, when he gets over the ball, in my terms, he's always on the ball. When I'm saying on the ball, he's as close to the line of scrimmage as he can be, because, of course, he's got to snap it. So using the chalkboard here, we'll cover the alignments that I feel are necessary in football. First of all, on the football is getting up to the line of scrimmage, and when you get in your stance, whether it's a 2 or 3 point stance, you're taking as much of the football as you can. The officials will let you get away with getting as close to that ball as you can where you almost think you're offsides. And generally they warn you. So if you'd like to get way up on the football, don't be afraid to really get way up there. And what we like to do is, when we get up on that football, if here's an example of the ball, all right, which you can see the football, and I'm the right guard or the right tackle, I like them to get up on that ball and take as much of that ball as they can, and where their head is not beyond the forward plane. I mean, somewhere in there, that official will let you get away with that. You need to check with your officials to see how much you can do it, because there are times when being close to the line of scrimmage is good. Now remember, like I said, if I'm the right guard and there's the ball, on pass blocking, I can get real close to the ball but stay in a 2 point stance and still be basically in that neutral zone. So on the football is as close as we can get to it, all right? And you'll have to talk to the officials in your area to see how far they'll let you get forward. Now, the other area we like to use is off the ball. Off the ball is when our linemen line up, all right, back here a little bit, and their fingertips are basically on the center's toes, all right? So if this is the center's right foot right there, and I'm the right guard, our off the ball is fingertips on the center's toes. And generally that'll put you in that legal zone where you're not deeper than the bottom plane of the center's numbers. Let's say the center's number is 66. Generally, as long as your helmet grazes the bottom part of his number, you're in the legal zone. That's off the ball. So this would be our off position. Now, when our linemen do not know where to line up, or I'm not sure, or when they haven't decided their proper alignment, they'll line up in between, and that'll be the semi area. And semi is basically your helmet's on the center shoulder pads, and that's more of a conventional alignment where you're halfway in between being way up on the ball, up here, and way back off the ball. So there is a place for all three alignments, and you have to decide why you want to use them. Let me show you another point as far as alignment. The entire offensive line does not have to be on the same plane. For example, if your right tackle, if you decide he needs to be way up on the football, then let him get up there. If your right offensive guard is better off the football, then let him line up there when they put their hand down. The point I'm trying to make, the officials should not call a penalty as long as this man right here is in the legal zone, this man is in the legal zone, so that stair-step effect should be totally legal. And at times it's better to have one man close to the ball, one man back off the ball, because if you do any zone blocking or pulling or whatever, there are times you'd like the stair-step effect. Okay, so what I tried to cover are different alignments. You can line up on the ball, which is as close as you can get. You can line up off the ball, which we like to say your fingertips are on the center's toes. Your helmet must graze the bottom part of the center's numbers. And number 3 is the semi area, where you're somewhere in between. And if you're just starting, this is a good area to line up in. And basically, I would say the helmet is on the center's shoulder pads. Okay. Along with the basic offensive stance and the alignments, the first phase of football that an offensive lineman needs to go through are basic fundamental agility drills, balance drills, posture drills, drills that you can do without shoulder pads and without a helmet on, drills that you can do in the off season, drills that a player can do on his own where he doesn't necessarily need other members of the team to help him improve his skills. In fact, I would say this part we're going to talk about right now may be as important part of an offensive lineman's training as there is. The thing I'd like to talk about is posture, balance, body configuration, the basic position you should be in the block. And what I'm going to show you now is when you get into a block or you hit into a man with his pass or run, you should be a knee bender. And what I mean by a knee bender is that as your knees are bent, okay, and your back is somewhat straight, or maybe your shoulders are tipped forward a little bit, you don't want to be a waist bender, right? This is a waist bender, right? Now, this is a very basic fundamental of football, but it's overlooked by quite a few people. This is a waist bender, right? And a waist bender cannot adjust to movement, all right? So if a boy is blocking like this, he has not bent his knees. Now watch when I immediately bend my knees, boom. You see that right there? That posture right there. Now as I'm driving or digging and blocking, I've got sort of an arch in my back and I've got some bend in my knees so that I can make adjustments with my feet. But if I'm a waist bender, that my body's going to be tipped forward and I can't make mid-course corrections or adjustments. So the proper body mechanics of being a knee bender and posture are ones that we like to do flat-footed. When I say flat-footed, very rarely are we on the balls of our feet. Balls of your feet running, or running on the balls of your feet, puts you off balance, as you can see. Now, if we were going to pull on a sweep, we'd run as fast as I could, or we could. We may be on the balls of our feet. But your basic contact in run blocking or in pass blocking is made when you're flat-footed. All right, so I'll move around here a little bit, and you can look at my feet, and as you watch my feet move, that we feel is the best way to move and change direction. So to make a long story short, our balance, our agility drills are ones that are done basically on our insteps. Okay, you see I'm flat-footed. I'm on my insteps. I'm not up on the balls of my feet. I'm not up on my heels. So our first agility drill that we do every day, we call it the demeanor drill. And the demeanor of being a waist bender, being flat-footed, being able to move and change direction is a wave drill, and we call it the duck demeanor. Duck meaning a two-legged bird, is that what it is, a duck, that kind of waddles and moves around and has balance and so forth. But what we require our linemen to do is to run forward, pumping the arm, run backward, pumping the arms, forward, backward. You can notice my body posture. I'm flat-footed. My knees are somewhere from being head-on to outside, and I'm moving as fast as I can, okay, but flat-footed. Then I make a move sideways, which more works on the skill of pass blocking in the same demeanor, forward running, backward running, sideways pass blocking. So through the whole thing, if you'll watch me kind of plot around here, I'm trying to train them to be a knee bender, to be flat-footed, so we don't get like this, get tall, get on the balls of our feet, and once they start to tire, they'll get higher. So to train them on how to bend, arch the back, move the feet with the base, that's, we feel, a very, very important fundamental of offensive line blocking. Now the weight's on your insteps. You can put your feet a little wider if you want. You can turn your knees out, baby. Arch your back a little. Baby. You can kind of go around in a circle. You can kind of go forward a little bit. Okay, good. There you go. Okay, beautiful. Yeah, okay, good. A lot of coaches put boards between players' legs, which I have done, to teach them to keep a wide base, so when they hit a man, their feet don't come together and they don't fall off the block. In my opinion, if you teach them the demeanor of the duck and working like this, when they come out of their stance, they'll automatically have this wide base and the ability to gather themselves and have the ability to block and hit without losing their balance. All right, so what I was trying to cover in this segment was the demeanor or the attitude of being a knee bender having a wide enough base, you see how I jump like that, where my weight is on my insteps, being able to move as fast as I can flat-footed, not just walking, running as fast as I can, where I have balance, laterally for pass, backwards and forwards for body control, as you're into run blocking and so forth. And with that in mind, I'll just position myself against this wall as if I were run blocking a person. And if I was way up on the balls of my feet like this, and the man moved, I might slip off the block. But if I maintain a wide base, instep, duck, and the man moves, I can adjust and change direction. So the ability to be flat-footed and bend your knees and have a wide base is an attitude that we try to teach them with this simple wave drill that we call it a demeanor drill. What we like to do with our rope jumping is, all right, assume I've got a rope I'm jumping with. See, my feet are flat. It teaches that demeanor of flat-footedness. And then as we work, and we work forward, we start to walk, that everything we'd like to do is flat-footed. Quarter eagle drill is a drill where we get in the duck, our back is arched, our hands are up, we move our feet. Now, when we move our feet, we don't move on the balls of the feet. We just move the whole foot, and I give them the command of hut. They'll move like that, hut, hut. Hands are moving, hut, hut. So we teach them to stay in that breakdown position, moving 4 turns to the right, 4 turns to the left. It teaches them to keep their hands up, like if they're going to pass block. And it's another way to keep them down in this football position and actually have them do something. The last agility drill we like to do, and this is good particularly with younger players in high school, junior high, or even the little league level, is we like to do some all-4 drills. Where we get them down on all fours, we have them move their feet and move laterally right to left. I'll give them a hand signal. They'll do a butt roll like a wrestler's roll. They'll go back this way. I might bring them forward, crab right, crab left. Because at the younger age, when they get on the ground, you'd like them to get up off the ground as quick as they can. So there is a place in your agility, in your quickness, not only to teach them how to get into the duck demeanor, but how to get up off the ground and use some all-4 agility drills.
All right, Anthony, we're out of control. You know, you're driving, you're leaning, but you're on the balls of your feet. Eric's just going to shrug you, and you're going to fall forward and be out of control. Ready, set, hut. Set, hut. Oh, he's out of control. He can't finish the block, right? That's the point we're making. Now Anthony is wide base, ducked out, all insteps, so when Eric shrugs him, Anthony can adjust, right? Here we go, on hut. Ready? Set, hut. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Hut, set, hut. They want to make the drill a little harder. Okay, now Anthony can't use his hands, all right? All right, the first one, Anthony, you'll be out of control. Right. All right, out of control. Bend your knees a little more. Arch the back. All right, there you go. Ready, set, hut, out of control. Oh, he's out of control. Now he's on his insteps. Wide base. Watch him adjust. You'll actually drop step on hut. Ready, set, hut. Good. Attaboy, good. Beautiful.
He's a big boy.
Where we're worried the head across,
right.
Cross flipper. Set, hut. Beautiful. I love it. One more. Set, hut. Oh, beautiful, 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 beautiful.
Did you finish? Now, if you're real interested in getting a good offensive line, this may be the one thing that you stress that you're really trying to improve for your year.